Police in Seneca, Missouri are currently investigating a vehicle wreck at the Big Daddy's gas station and liquor store. You'll hear what an officer on the scene thinks happened. Plus,
autocross isn't your normal race car driving. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with how the sport differs and why so many came out to Neosho to improve their skills.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. I'm Mike Mahoney. Police in Seneca, Missouri are currently investigating a vehicle wreck at Big Daddy's gas station. An officer who was on the scene tells KOAM he got a call around 11:15 this morning about a car that drove through the gas station and liquor store's front door. He says a 61-year-old male driver was trying to exit the store's parking lot when something went wrong, causing the car to crash through the store. Driver error is suspected, but the officer says there was no indication that the driver was intoxicated. Fortunately, nobody was injured during the crash, and as of now, the driver is not facing criminal charges. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation says the man shot by a Chanute police officer Friday has died. According to the KBI, 28-year-old Brandon Schlichting died just after 1 o'clock this morning at the University of Kansas Medical Center. On Friday, August 20th, Chanute police received reports of a suspicious person looking in car windows. When an officer arrived, he attempted to make contact with Schlichting, who then pulled a weapon from a holster. The officer fired one shot, striking Schlichting in the head. All right, a pretty hot one today. Let's get some details from meteorologist Nick Kelly.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty apparent, Mike. If you didn't step outside, that the heat has definitely returned, and this heat is going to stick with us for pretty much this entire week. 73 this morning, quite a mild start, and our official high 94 degrees, so back above our high of about 90, 91 degrees in general. Out across the Skywatch Storm Tracker, not much happening here. Maybe a couple stray showers earlier this evening. Those have really fizzled out, though. Thunderstorms along the Kansas-Nebraska line, but I don't think those have a shot of making it here. So we're going to keep things quiet, but our main focus weather-wise will continue to be these heat advisories going beyond 8 o'clock last hour. These are going to stick with us through at least Thursday. So we are looking at quite a warm start with lows dropping back to 76. I see highs going back to 96 tomorrow. Heat indices between 100 and 105. And we'll see how long this is going to stick around for the week here in just a bit, Mike.
All right, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, Nick Kelly. 2 Joplin businesses teamed up to get kids ready to head back to the classroom. Salon 529 in Joplin and Pink Homes Real Estate worked together today to give back to the Joplin community with their annual Give Back event. Kids were able to receive free haircuts as well as backpacks filled with school supplies.
School can get expensive with clothes and supplies and haircuts, so we wanted to offer this free service to anyone who was willing to show up and take advantage of our offering for them, and we are super excited to be able to have our stylists volunteer their time to come in and offer these free haircuts.
Many 4-state area schools start on Monday, so the Salon and Pink Homes say they thought this would be the perfect time to get the kids their supplies and make sure they are looking fresh for the school year. Autocross is a type of racing that's not as big as NASCAR but still has many fans. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky rode along with some racers to see what the sport is all about and how it differs from traditional race car driving.
Autocrossing isn't your typical style of racing.
We set up courses in large airfields or parking lots with cones. We run 1 or 2 cars at a time. The cars don't get close to each other, so there's no risk of them hitting each other. And it's a timed event, and so it's a competition to see who can make it through the course the quickest.
Each race only takes about 45 seconds to complete, with speeds reaching up to 75 miles per hour.
It's a competitive event, and we all want to be the fastest.
These people race not just to improve their skills, but also because they love the thrill that the competition brings.
You keep your skills fresh when there's a new challenge, a new course every time. And it's great if you're experienced. It's great if you're a novice too. Get the car control skills down.
Jim Rowland has been autocrossing for about 20 years and says it's as much fun now as when he first started.
There's a new track every time, so there's a new challenge every time you go to an event. That's part of the fun.
And these thrill seekers aren't afraid of a little speed.
It's more thrilling than scary. I find it's a blast just because you have to do a lot of maneuvers in quick succession, so it feels very intense.
Autocrossing is educational for racers as well, and event organizers say those who get really involved with the sport can have bigger opportunities come their way.
Really a great way to drive your car as fast as you can in a controlled and safe environment And if you really enjoy it, then it could lead to other things like road racing on bigger tracks.
In Neosho, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
It's now time to pay tribute to one of our many four-state heroes. Tonight, we recognize Larry Coy of Columbus, Kansas. Coy served as a petty officer, second class in the U.S. Navy, and on the submarine, the USS Darter. He earned a National Defense Service Medal and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service and your bravery. For more information on all our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Plus,
Henri makes landfall in New England as a tropical storm bringing flooding and wind. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. All of the latest details on the storm coming up.
Warm, nice break from the heat yesterday, but we were right back into it today. Mother Nature doesn't plan on changing course as we go through the rest of the week ahead of us. At least it looked nice throughout the day. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, the time lapse outside of Seneca, Missouri, showed quiet skies this morning. Just partly to mostly sunny skies throughout the day. I will say, though, this heat and humidity that did return did try to spark a couple showers, maybe a random storm in our southern counties, but everyone stayed pretty much dry today, and we definitely saw that result in us jumping back into the heat. After we saw mid to upper 80s yesterday, we dropped back to 73 this morning and back into the lower, if not mid 90s, to start this new week out ahead of us. The broad picture in the Skywatch Storm Tracker again shows not a lot happening today, but earlier we did try to see a few radar echoes pop up trying to suggest maybe a couple showers, but again, those didn't really materialize, unfortunately. So we have quite a dry stretch ahead of us, but also a hot and humid one. That's why we have heat advisories for pretty much the entire region, taking us at least until 7 o'clock Thursday evening. So a multi-day stretch of heat and humidity. Let's be ready for that as we get this new work week underway. 87 in Joplin, quiet skies up top at the very least, but it feels like 95 with the dew point sitting at 74 degrees. It's the same no matter where you are across the area. Maybe one of the cooler readings, if you want to call 80 cool, up in Fort Scott, 84 in Columbus, 83 in Anderson, 87 also in Carthage. But you factor in the humidity, it still feels like the lower to mid 90s at worst throughout parts of the region. But eventually we are going to drop back into the mid 70s, maybe a little reprieve from the heat today, but it cranks right back into gear tomorrow after our front, I forgot to change that front lifted back up to the north, and we're finally starting to see this upper ridge really build on top of the region. So let's break down how the forecast looks for the next few days and certainly through the rest of the week. The future track here, I want to point out as we go into Monday morning, 3 a.m., it's trying to suggest outflow from the storms near the Nebraska-Kansas line, trying to come in and maybe bring in a few showers. That is not likely to happen. Everything else I'm seeing says we keep dry overnight. It's a shame we can't get any rain, though, because it's going to still be a warm start to the morning, with most of us dropping back near 76. At least it'll look nice throughout the day tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies, but you can see how that will really kick temperatures up into the mid-90s once again. 76 in the morning, 91 by noon. Highs near 96. But that's what the thermometer will say. You factor in the humidity into play, and this is why these heat advisories are in effect. Pushing 105 to 110 in northeast Oklahoma. Everybody else is going to feel like 100 to 105 during the afternoon. We'll do it again for Tuesday, Wednesday, and even into Thursday. Even though the brunt of this ridge tries to shift to the east, as long as we can get a possible weakness in the ridge by the end of the week, before we see maybe a stronger system try to come at us by late next weekend, maybe we could twist an arm here or there to maybe bring in a random storm or two Thursday, Saturday, and next Sunday. But the big weather story here, Mike, is the heat and humidity. That's why these alert days are out tomorrow through Thursday. Highs around 96 and 97. It will definitely feel like triple digits for each afternoon ahead of us.
Not looking forward to that, but I will take it compared to what some of our friends on the East Coast are dealing with. And that, of course, is Storm Henri. Storm Henri made landfall today, bringing gusty winds and dangerous flash flooding to parts of the Northeast. Fox News' Lauren Blanchard is on the Connecticut coast with the latest.
Just hours after being downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm, Henri made landfall along the coast of Rhode Island.
Midday Sunday, Henri came ashore in Westerly, Rhode Island, packing a punch, though not as bad as anticipated. Still bringing winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, dangerous storm surge, and coastal flooding.
We've been in close contact with FEMA, who have been incredibly supportive.
Tens of thousands are already without power in several states, and the National Weather Service issued flood watches for more than 35 million people in parts of the Northeast.
Anyone who can stay home should stay home and stay off the roads and wait for the threat to pass.
President Biden has approved emergency declarations and gave an update on the federal response.
We're doing everything we can now to help those states prepare, respond, and recover. We don't know the full extent of the storm's impact today, but we're acting to prepare for and prevent damage as much as possible.
Now over land, the system is expected to slow down and soak the already saturated area, somewhat similar to the slow crawl of Hurricane Harvey in 2017.
Our message is simple. Stay safe, stay home, stay off the road, and stay tuned. This is going to be a long duration event, as we've been reporting.
Forecasters believe Henri will continue to weaken as it moves over New England, but impacts from the storm are expected to continue through the early part of the week. In Old Saybrook, Connecticut, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Storm Henri is also causing problems for people in the state of Massachusetts. As you can see, the storm brought down part of a large tree on top of a house in the town of Auburn, about 50 miles west of Boston. Even further west in the town of Palmer, a tree fell through the windshield of an occupied vehicle. Back in Rhode Island, the National Grid Power Company says more than 75,000 residents lost power. 10 people are dead, including 7-month-old twins, following flooding in Middle Tennessee. Their father was holding them when floodwaters swept them away. The 4 affected areas are west of Nashville, and the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency has issued a state of emergency. According to the National Weather Service, the city of McEwen received more than 17 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, breaking the record for Middle Tennessee by almost 4 inches. Right after the break, we have got an update from Kabul, Afghanistan. Taliban fighters who have been positioned around the city are trying to normalize their relations with civilians. You'll learn how in just 2 short minutes. Hundreds of American and Afghan citizens are waiting for their chance to leave Afghanistan. Since the Taliban took over a week ago, those who can leave the war-torn nation are doing everything they can to board an airplane to a safer destination. Fox News' Trey Yangst is in Kabul with the latest.
We've just arrived in Kabul, Afghanistan, where evacuations are continuing at this hour. You can see behind me visa applicants and those who have been approved and vetted are here at the airport waiting to take flights out of the country. Many have been waiting here for hours, but it does seem like the flights are picking up. The Taliban took control of Afghanistan just 1 week ago, and there are still thousands of Afghans and Americans trapped. How did you get here? What was the process like of getting to the airport?
The airport was very hard to get in 4 days, 5 days. I get on the gate, it was very hard to come over here. They need to go by the 6%. Who is the first eligible people? They need to come. Like green card, U.S. passport, and that's a special immigration visa, 3rd number.
And that wasn't happening?
No, it's not happening there.
Off in the distance, you'll see there are planes waiting to take them to safety, but many of them cannot get to safety. That's the big problem happening right now on the ground in Kabul. You have these gates, and you've seen the video of the pure chaos outside of this airport. The Taliban just feet away from American troops, pushing people back, setting up checkpoints across the city. And now there are very, very serious intelligence reports indicating that ISIS could target U.S. citizens who are trying to make their way to the airport. So you have this very difficult situation, an insurgent group, the Taliban, who took over the entire country and got weaponry, machinery, and more manpower by freeing their fighters from prisons across the country. And now there are American soldiers on the ground, once again, trying to ensure that American citizens and these Afghans can get to safety. And it really appears like a recipe for disaster, because you have weaponry that the Taliban now controls. You have not only Taliban fighters, but also members of Al-Qaeda who were freed from prisons. And you have this innocent civilian population trying to desperately get to safety. And it's moving along, but People are frustrated and they want to get out, and they're concerned that if they make it out, their family members and their friends who are left behind will be in danger from the Taliban.
Taliban fighters who have been positioned around Afghanistan are trying to normalize their relations with civilians. Some were seen at a checkpoint in Kabul today, searching vehicles in what's being described as an effort to ensure security. Taliban militants are taking part in daily patrols of an area referred to as the Green Zone. They're pledging to restore law and order, but there's concern the efforts could lead to brutality. The Taliban have had no significant presence in Kabul in 20 years, but they're now going door to door, registering names and collecting weapons. Meanwhile, the group's top political leader, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradarha, arrived in Kabul for talks on forming a new government. As the U.S. military continues evacuating Americans and allies from Afghanistan, commercial jetliners are being pressed into service to aid in the evacuation efforts. This comes as desperate Americans say it's not even safe to travel to the airport to make the trip home. Fox News' David Spunt takes a look.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin activated the Civil Reserve Air Fleet. That's a measure to help transport people once they've left Afghanistan and bring them to the United States. Let's take a look at some of the companies that are participating. These are private airlines: American, Delta, Atlas, Omni, Hawaiian, and United Airlines. Yesterday, a plane with Afghan refugees landed at Dulles International Airport just outside Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. Some of those on the plane will take shelter at the Dulles Expo Center until they find something more permanent. There are also reports the Biden White House is weighing options to order airstrikes to destroy our equipment the Taliban stole and is using against us. Families are desperate to leave, and the airport in Kabul is the only hope. Officials are reporting some Americans are not able to get to the airport, including this American woman in Afghanistan.
Please, Mr. President, please evacuate us. We need help. Given up on the hope of going to the airport because it's not possible to make it through all those people. People are getting shot left and right. The tear gas is being released on people. It's so devastating that I don't even know how to explain it. It's a nightmare. I want to wake up. I want to wake up from this nightmare.
Here in the United States, refugees are being housed at Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, Fort Bliss in Texas, and Fort Lee in Virginia. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
When we return, a big change is expected for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine.
Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine nears FDA approval as the Delta variant continues to spread. I'm Christina Coleman in Los Angeles. Details coming up.
Welcome back to your News at 9. Pfizer's 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine could get full FDA approval within days. Health officials hope the clearance could convince skeptics to get vaccinated. Fox News' Christina Coleman has the latest.
The New York Times reports the FDA aims to give Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine full approval as soon as next week. For the last 8 months, the formula has been in use under an emergency authorization. Health experts say the move could help convince unvaccinated Americans that the shot is safe and may lead to a wave of new vaccine mandates.
The full approval, called biological licensing application, now allows them the ability to require vaccination and not be as concerned about lawsuits and other challenges that might arise.
Vaccine hesitancy has been an obstacle in getting eligible adults vaccinated against COVID-19, but more people are making the decision to get their shots. The White House announcing Friday 200 million Americans have received at least one dose. Health officials say there's a renewed urgency to get people vaccinated as the Delta variant spreads.
It's spreading like wildfire, and it's putting our children in the hospital in record numbers.
Over the past week, the U.S. averaged 11,000 new hospital admissions. The CDC says at the current pace, we could reach a record high within a month. Florida now accounts for about 1 in 5 COVID patients hospitalized nationwide. And doctors in Jacksonville say more children are also being treated due to the virus.
We're seeing the ages decrease from what we saw in the previous variants. The young are sicker, and they're sicker quicker.
This week, the U.S. reported more than 1 million new COVID cases for the first time since February. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Violent clashes broke out over lockdown measures in Australia this weekend. Hundreds of anti-lockdown demonstrators fought with police in Melbourne on Saturday. Police used pepper spray to try to combat the crowd, and officers arrested dozens of people during the clashes. At least a half dozen police officers suffered injuries. The city is set to remain on lockdown until September 2nd, following a recent uptake in coronavirus cases. This lockdown is the city's 6th since the start of the pandemic. A popular vegan soap company is offering a big cash bonus for employees who show up to work with proof of COVID-19 vaccination. Fox News' Ashley Jacobs tells us how much money the incentive is worth.
Dr. Bronner's is a soap company based in San Diego's North County. Vaccines for employees aren't mandatory, but strongly encouraged.
We've had a day of PTO has been our main incentive. And we've gotten up to 60% with that incentive as of mid-July.
Now they're hoping for an even higher percentage, offering $1,000 for employees who show proof of vaccination.
It's not just an incentive for people who are on the fence. We also want to reward people, give them the incentive if they've already done it of their own volition.
Soap sales skyrocketed over the last year and a half, so this isn't the first financial reward for employees. Those who came into work early on during the pandemic got a raise they called appreciation pay.
Certain people could stay home, but people coming into work, we gave them an extra $2.50 an hour.
And every employee got a $5,000 COVID bonus. Employee Rhythm Turner interacts with the public dancing away at community events on behalf of Dr. Bronner's and says this has always been a fun, safe place to work.
I got the vaccine after a lot of deliberation and talking with people that are really close to me.
While this financial incentive seems to be working for employees, there have been harsh public and customer criticism for the company known for embracing an all-natural vegan lifestyle.
You know, there's people who think we're getting a kickback from pharmaceutical companies. I swear there is not a kickback scheme.
I appreciate people standing up for what they believe in, but my view of reality on this one is that, you know, the vaccines are safe, we need them. It's much more dangerous to not have a vaccinated population.
Anxiety over the coronavirus is hitting new highs since last winter, according to a new poll. The poll from the Associated Press and National Opinion Research Center says 41% of Americans are extremely or very worried about themselves or their family becoming infected with the coronavirus. That's up 20% since June and very close to last January when 43% were extremely or very worried. Despite rising cases and concerns, the poll suggests Americans haven't stepped up precautionary measures. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back. A 6-year-old female orca has died at SeaWorld in San Diego. It happened Thursday, just a day after the orca known as Amaya began showing signs of being sick. According to the park, Amaya's death was sudden and unexpected, and she died with her animal care specialists by her side. Park officials say they are all heartbroken over the loss. Amaya's cause of death won't be known for at least several weeks, as a post-mortem exam still needs to be done. Rescuers in Argentina scrambled to save a humpback whale that ended up stranded in shallow water off San Clemente del Tuyo. Unfortunately, there has been an increase in these types of incidents in South America. The Mundo Marino Foundation says rescuers had tried to move the whale out to deeper waters, but the mammal wasn't able to survive. The foundation also says nearly 100 whales have been found dead near the coastline of Brazil this year alone. Well, stick around. We have got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another weather update with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And still to come, a police officer is in critical condition and a suspect is dead following a shooting in Wisconsin. You'll learn what happened when we return.
KOAM.
A police officer is in critical condition and a suspect is dead following a shooting in Wisconsin. It happened around 1:30 this morning in the Milwaukee suburb of Greenfield. A vehicle left a scene of a traffic stop and crashed, and then the suspect exited the vehicle and shot at officers. One officer was hit, but a second officer fired back and hit the suspect, who was pronounced dead at the scene. Personnel shortages, bad summer weather, and a tough COVID-19 restart prompt an airline executive to apologize. Southwest Airlines apologized to its staff and unions on Friday for a very hectic summer. According to the company's chief operating officer, Southwest will consider schedule changes after it added flights to try and capitalize on the summer travel surge. Staffing and weather problems placed a huge strain on employees. This season was particularly rough for the airline, as it reported only a 64% on-time arrival rate from June 1st through August 18th. That's lower than American Airlines, Delta, and United Airlines. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Stay tuned. Turn your old car and
While it was nice that Saturday's thunderstorms left us warm for yesterday afternoon, we had to dive back into the heat and a little humidity as we wrapped up the weekend today. Even though it was hot and humid, if you were outside, at least it looked nice throughout the day, certainly from our time-lapse of Indigo Sky, showing us partly sunny skies from sunrise to sunset outside of Seneca, Missouri. Again, it was nice that the rain that we had Saturday morning dropped us down to 70 yesterday morning and pushing us back up at least into the mid 80s, 86, 87 degrees. But after we only dropped back to 73 this morning, it was back to about 94 at Joplin Regional, so everybody was easily back into the lower to middle 90s. Pretty good indication of how Mother Nature wants our weather set up to be as we go through the entire week ahead of us for the most part. And throughout the afternoon, though, after we had maybe a couple random little showers overnight, I have been keeping an eye on the radar in case the returning heat and humidity, along with that front working back in from the south, tried to spark a random thunderstorm or two. Fortunately, if you had outdoor plans, it didn't materialize whatsoever, so we are dry on the radar. But this is our main focus as we go through frankly, a good portion of the week ahead. Heat advisories for pretty much everybody, taking us until at least Thursday at 7 o'clock in the evening. So we got plenty of heat and humidity to take us through the middle of the week easy. But at least we are seeing these numbers climb on down as we got past sunset not too long ago. Still warm though, 87. Feels like 95 thanks to dew points in the mid 70s. Everyone is seeing temperatures mainly in the low to mid 80s, but there are a few spots like Nevada, Fort Scott, Monette, and Cassville trying to sneak back into the upper 70s already. But still, the humidity makes it feel like we're in the 90s still, and we're almost knocking on the door to the 10 o'clock hour. At least we're staying quiet here. Any strong or severe storms staying along the Kansas-Nebraska line, those don't have a shot of making it here, as they'll stay close to the warm front, which continues to lift back to the north. This is just one reason why we're going to stay hot and humid. This is the main reason, though. This upper ridge, it's building into the south. That is what will have the heat and humidity locked in as we go throughout much of this week. The future track forecast keeps us dry for much of the overnight. It wants to show maybe a couple of those showers or storms from the northwest rolling in. I really doubt that. So we're keeping dry as we go through the overnight. Unfortunately, that also keeps us warm, with lows dropping back to 76. Lower 90s by lunchtime, and then back into the mid 90s with plenty of sunshine for tomorrow afternoon. So that means 76 in the morning for the entire region, 91 by noon. Highs near 96, a light breeze generally throughout the day. Occasionally we could get a gust near 15, but that will just not only keep the heat in play, but keep the humidity up as well. That's why for southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, it'll feel like 100 to 104, while it could feel as hot as 105 at least for parts of northeast Oklahoma. Those numbers repeat themselves for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's just why those heat advisories remain in effect. As long as this upper ridge remains on top of the region, the ridge weakens though a little bit as we go through Thursday and into next weekend. Hopefully that will be enough to bring in at least a couple thunderstorm chances Thursday afternoon and by the time we head into the next weekend. But our main weather story is the alert days because of the heat and humidity. Monday through Thursday, highs around 96 to 97, and hopefully we can dial things back to at least a lower 90s by next weekend. Danny Terzer is on deck. She'll have your sports fix up next.
Nominate your save.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The Baxter Springs Lions finished up their first week of fall practice. After back-to-back winless years, new head coach Russell Burr and his team are hopeful to turn the program around. The Lions face some challenges again this year. They have just one senior on the roster and are battling low numbers and low interest. However, off-season preparations have shown promise, and the Lions are determined to rewrite their story.
I think our skill people are pretty good. We don't have a lot of numbers, but our kids are working pretty hard. And we got some athletes. It's just a matter of can we go the full game, because we just don't have a lot of guys. The first win for us will be huge. We are on a streak right now. We haven't won in a couple of years, actually. So our first win will be a time of celebration.
The Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Arizona to face the Cardinals in the second week of preseason action. The Chiefs defeated the Cardinals 17-10, making them 2-0 in preseason play so far. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes played for nearly 2 quarters. He completed 10 of 18 passes for 78 yards. Then backup Chad Henne connected with McCole Hardman for a 17-yard touchdown. And Shane Buechele found Jerick McKinnon in the end zone for the second Chiefs touchdown. Here's what Mahomes had to say about the win.
I think the most valuable thing we did was kind of have those long, sustained drives. I mean, it's awesome to score with one play, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of those during the season. But to have those drives where you have to kind of grind it out, I think that's the biggest thing that you get away from this game. Definitely a good showing for the offensive line. I thought they protected well, we ran the ball well, and you can always learn from the things that we did.
The Chiefs will play their final preseason contest at home against the Vikings on Friday. The roller coaster continues for the Cardinals. Following a 6-game win streak, St. Louis has now lost their last 4 of 5. Tonight, they're in danger of getting swept by a poor Pirates team. In the series finale, Yadier Molina drives in the first run of the game. He singles to left center, and Paul Goldschmidt scores. Later in the 5th, Goldschmidt here again sends this one out to Big Mac land, his 19th homer of the year. Adam Wainwright, letting nothing by today, gets Michael Perez looking here. Then Ben Gamble goes down. 9 strikeouts and 8 shutout innings for Wainwright. Late in the game here, Harrison Bader drops it into center. Molina comes around to score. Cards get the job done tonight, a 3-0 victory. The Royals going for the sweep today against the Cubs. Hunter Dozier starts it off with a hit to center to score Andrew Benintendi. Then Benintendi puts it in nearly the same spot, this time for a 2-run double. It's 3-0 Royals. Lopez now finds grass in right center, an RBI single. A game of small ball for the Royals today, and it gets the job done. A dominant 9-1 road victory for Kansas City. We'll be right back with more news.
Monday morning, we brace for the end of.
Welcome back to your News at 9. Ghost kitchens, which became popular during the coronavirus pandemic, are quickly growing as a way to combat price inflation and rising food costs. Fox Business Network's Lydia Hu checks it out.
We're outside of Umami Burger at New York City's Brookfield Place, where just at the counter they're serving burgers and fries and milkshakes. But back in the kitchen, behind the scenes, they're cooking fried chicken for delivery only under several ghost kitchen brands like Sam's Crispy Chicken and The Other Side. To get insight into the business operations here, we have Chef Vincenzo Rossi. Chef Rossi, you say the ghost kitchens help this restaurant location by adding about 20 to 30% of revenue to the operation here. How do the ghost kitchens, or do the ghost kitchens, offset rising costs of food?
Well, you know, with the rising cost of food, the rising costs in labor and real estate, we've found a way that layering in these brands offers additional revenue streams. So what we're going to be actually doing here is actually adding 2 more brands, Crispy Rice and Kumi, which are another 2 ghost kitchens, and operating 7 brands out of this one space.
So tell us a little bit more about how that helps mitigate the cost of food. Are you able to use food more efficiently across the menus? How does that actually work?
So in adding these brands, what we're doing is we're cross-utilizing ingredients. So a lot of these brands can basically use a lot of the same ingredients, and we're creating multiple brands off of that. And not only that, but I think we're also looking at it from a purchasing aspect, right? We're now purchasing a lot more because we have more revenue stream coming in, and so we're able to get better costs on our end when we're dealing with the supply chain.
Your company behind this operation is called C3, and there are 250 kitchens across the country right now, plans to expand. What do you think moving forward, dining looks like? Is this the future of dining, more ghost kitchens where you don't actually sit down in the restaurant where your food is coming from?
Well, we're creating culinary communities. That's the biggest thing, C3. And I think with that, what we're trying to do is not only offer brands that resonate with people, but we also want to offer, we have these great partnerships with these wonderful chefs, Dario Cecchini, world's greatest butcher, Katsuya, and we have Chef Morimoto, Iron Chef, right? And he's creating brands with us so that we can then offer that to the people. And not only that, but have a brick and mortar, but then also create in our other locations, whether it's an Umami Burger or an Ella Mia, and have those brands operating out of the back and still doing delivery so that we have that. It's kind of like this phone to table, and it's resonating with that Gen X, that Gen Z, and getting those things for them.
Well, it's certainly an idea that is catching a lot of attention. We know that there's been significant growth in food delivery during the pandemic, and now we're seeing some really big companies entering that market. Companies like Kroger and Five Guys both announcing plans to open ghost kitchens through the end of the year. Wendy's, on their most recent earnings call, also said they're going to open about 50 ghost kitchens for delivery-only operations by the end of the year. Each one of those, they say, could earn up to $1 million each. Reporting from Manhattan, New York, Lydia Hu for Fox Business.
We are not done yet here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, you are going to meet a 5-year-old girl in Wisconsin who is being hailed as a hero after she saved her mother's life. You'll learn what happened right after this short break. A woman in Wisconsin is alive thanks to the actions of her 5-year-old daughter. Fox News' Christina Van Zelst explains what happened.
Like all 5-year-olds,
pretty cool, huh?
curiosity leads life. But for Adeline,
I said, hurry up, get home.
Her bravery is what saved her mom's.
That she was having a blockage and a possible stroke.
Chelsea Shimoleski was suffering from a stroke while her husband was at work. Her daughter, who doesn't know how to read or write, did know something was wrong.
I called Dad, and I knew how to call him because of the emojis.
Dad, Mommy texted her. Can you please hurry get home quick?
She went ahead and kept calling, and finally he said something's wrong, that she's calling back to back. He listened to the voicemail she had left, and he immediately came home and then called 911.
It's because of Adeline's heroic actions her mom is standing today.
I'm forever grateful and extremely, as her mother, I'm very proud of her.
The Hartford family meeting the EMS workers who responded to the call. After a tour of the fire station, it was a meeting of all kinds of heroes.
And it just means that what we do and the message that we try and get out for early notification for young children is working.
Chelsea is on the road to recovery, but she hopes by sharing her story that parents will take the time to sit down with their kids and talk about what to do in case of an emergency.
Well, thanks so much for wrapping up your weekend with us. We will see you next week for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night, and of course, stay safe out there.